Again, this is absolutely not the takeaway I think the director wanted me to have, but this is what I found interesting about the film. Okay, so next we have Santet 1 and 2.
Kesempatan ini tidak boleh disia-siakan.
Now, these are Indonesian black magic films. So I'm going to try to give you the basic breakdown for Santet without providing too many spoilers. I'm just going to kind of get to our inciting incident. And hopefully that won't be too much. Hopefully that won't be too much. So essentially what you have here is this like really sleazy, real-life Wario-looking dude who runs a brothel in Indonesia. He poisons his wife to death, and when the town religious figure of sorts, the kind of Muslim imam or something like that, I guess, calls him on his bluff and is like, hey, you definitely did that on purpose. Like, I don't think that she just had an allergic reaction to something. He essentially uses his like social standing to sick the mob on this person and accuses them of black magic.
Sebagai dukun santet, kematianmu pun harus dibakar.
And they kill him in just this horrific way, and his wife is then sexually assaulted by this man, and she is then visited by a witch and is told like the things that she needs to do to acquire the powers of black magic to enact her revenge.
Siapakah yang putri ini? Orang-orang memanggilku Nyi Angker, si Ratu Santet.
Despite the fact that this is very, very not cool in the sort of Islamic tradition that the filmmaker is clearly engaged in, that Indonesian culture is clearly engaged in, and that the character is clearly engaged in. Right? So it puts her at this interesting crossroads where she has to kind of wonder if the sort of justice that is available to her is worth compromising on her immortal soul and her values and all these other things, because clearly that system hasn't worked out super well for her so far. And so these are, you can tell what's going on here, right? These are black magic films. Like, we know that she gives it the old college try, as it were.
Ayah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't get into it further than that, but suffice it to say that this is a really interesting film, sort of exploring the ideas of faith and religion and where those things may come up short. I don't think that's where the film wants you to land, but that's what I thought about watching these films, and how a lot of times for marginalized people, like, power has to come in unsanctioned or unapproved or in less sanctioned ways, let's say. It's sort of a story about how, like, to seek justice against the powerful, sometimes we have to take things into our own hands and do things we hadn't expected, or that society might tell us are incorrect or morally impure. Again, this is absolutely not the takeaway I think the director wanted me to have, but this is what I found interesting about the film. In addition to that, you have just like these really spectacular special effects, these practical effects, like this weird, freaky creature shit. Like, it's interesting in this and Satan's Slaves, which is the other film by this director that I have seen. They're clearly like Islamic propaganda films. Like, they definitely come bearing a particular message, and I don't think that it's like tacked on at the end. I do think it is a genuine belief of the auteur here, but there's also this clear fascination with like evil and the things you're not supposed to be entranced by, right? There is a lot of love and care taken to show the more naughty aspects of these films, right? So it's kind of like your excuse to show some pretty salacious stuff and some pretty nasty gore and crazy creature effects and all this other stuff, right? I don't know, it's way cooler than what we get in our like pure flicks like fucking Christploitation films today, right? Like fucking God's Not Dead doesn't have a sequence where the atheist professor like turns into a sea monster and like eats one of the Christian kids for saying the wrong thing or getting a philosophical proof wrong or something, you know? That would have been a way better movie, is all I'm saying. Santet 2, I have a hard time describing even the bullet point, like sort of like abstract synopsis that you put on the letterbox or whatever for sequels, because you inherently have to give away some information about how the first one is ended. So let's just say that some characters return, and it's a very similar sort of setup, and I don't know what else I can say other than that. It's not as good as the first one, but it definitely it's a lot sillier than the first one. Like the first one is kind of it's very serious and it's very like it's a fun movie to watch for a lot of it, but there's some pretty heinous shit that happens. This one is a lot more like there's some slapstick elements to it. There's some like soap opera like funny like gender humor going on, and like there's more songs in this one too, I think. I forgot to mention that there's songs in these films, which is nice. I don't know. The second one is definitely more fun to watch with friends, I think. That'd be my recommendation for that one. But I mean, you know, it delivers on the special effects as well. It delivers on being as weird and out there as it's kind of being advertised. There's an image of like an eye coming out of a palm that they kind of use to sell the film, and it appears in this one. So it does kind of feel like they were short on plot, and so they wanted to up the comedy and the music and the zaniness on the second one, right? So the first one I gave a 7 out of 10, and the second one I gave a 6 out of 10. I definitely recommend and enjoyed both of them, but I just preferred the first one as I thought it was a little bit thematically richer, and I preferred the more serious tone. But again, like I said, the second one is more fun. So the supplements unfortunately are pretty few and far between. All we have is a commentary track, um, which is not to say anything about that commentary track in particular. It's just usually I have my work cut out for me with these things, and I have a list of supplements to go through. But this one is just the one commentary for the first film, and that's it. It's with film historian Dr. Elise Imanjaya. I'm so sorry if I messed up your name, but yeah, unfortunately, the recording quality is really, really bad, and his accent is just really thick as well. And so, you know, I have to say this every video, but I have some amount of audio processing issues, and so without subtitles, it's hard enough already for me to hear what people are saying. And, you know, when you tack on like poor microphone recording and an accent I'm not familiar with on top of that, I really just I couldn't understand enough of this to get anything out of it. But from what I could hear, it sounded like it had some good info in it. So I'd say give it a try. And if these things aren't barriers to you as they were to me, it's definitely worth listening to. However, what we do have is this lovely booklet, an excellent essay entitled Susanna, Black Magic Woman from Thomas Barker. Oh, here we go. There's the eye hand that I was talking about earlier. Yeah, this goes into the history of Susanna and her career in Indonesia as a kind of like sex symbol, but also like bona fide movie star. It goes into like a lot of her like sort of tragic backstory too. Like some shit happened to her that is like really fucked up and not super fun. Here's more cool shit. I don't know, there's just like some really cool images in this film, just generally speaking. And then it kind of ends talking about her, like falling in love with her co-star on a film who was 17 and she was like 40, and then they got married. Not great. Just not great. But that essay is really great. And thankfully it's not limited to the limited edition, because it's a booklet and not a perfect bound book. Perfect bound book. It's a booklet and not a perfectly bound book. So you get it even if you get the standard edition. Yeah, this is a great release. It's definitely out there. I don't know how many people are super familiar with Indonesian cinema, but I think this is as good an entry point as any. So check it out. Okay, that's all from me today. If you'd like to support the work I do monetarily, there are links in the description for my Patreon, channel membership program, and Amazon wishlist. And if you'd like to support this channel non-monetarily, liking the video, commenting me lovely things to read, leaving me lovely comments to read, sharing it with a pal, and subscribing to the channel would all be just wonderful for me. And there are links in the description to my social media accounts, should you like to be a little bit more intimate. And until then, remember that Satan loves all of their children. Bye. I'd like to take a moment to thank our newest patrons, Craig Rogers, Jeremy Long, Zachary William, Kevin Tudor, Brent Madison, and Rachel. I'd also like to thank our accomplices Ann PM, Anthony Listro, The Boogeyman's Closet, Dana Jordan Rothschild, The Disconnected, Dr. Jeff Butcher, Dustin Putman, George Strang, Nosferatu 1334, Possessed Washing Machine, S. Butler, Sasha Bobashasaurus, and Stephen Perkins. If you'd like to be counted amongst their ranks, the link is in the description.